All right. So now we're going to get into competitive intelligence. I still don't have a way to nicely transition, but welcome Brian Robinson from. Well, which one would you like me to go with?
WebDataGuru. Let's go with that.
WebDataGuru in the background, so we'll go there. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, just welcome before I give you a more formal introduction.
No problem. Well, no, thank you, Chris. I've loved this whole week, and thank you for putting together. I started pricing back in say 2010, 2012, and there was no way to reach out to, right? There wasn't a real good source to talk through ideas and everything else. So just meeting all these people, hearing how they approach things is fantastic, and thank you again for hosting.
Well, thanks for being here. I know competitive intelligence, we talked, wasn't something being covered, and I saw that as a big area of kind of weakness of the conference, and so I was glad you were able to make time and come talk about this. And I also want to say thank you for sponsoring. They're making this free for everybody. So, I just want to thank you for being a sponsor, for coming here, kind of talking about the competitive intelligence side of things and more. And so for those of you that don't know Brian, so I already said he's at WebDataGuru, but he's an experienced pricing leader, turned, I don't know, technology innovator. And so now he is at WebDataGuru helping you all with competitive intelligence. So this is an area I'm excited to hear more about, just because I think, as we've talked about, you guys have some really cool stuff and some different ways that your solutions are kind of leading the way. So thank you again. Sorry.
Absolutely. No, that's great. I was a 12-year practitioner with Napa Auto Parts and Fleet Pride, heavy-duty truck parts, millions of SKUs in each of those. I enjoy pricing. It's funny, I started in sales, but realized I could help my customers make more money via pricing than I ever could selling products. So that's true, all right? I mean, that's why I think everybody's is scrambling today to put pricers in places, because they realize, especially in this tariff environment, a pricer can sit down and push a few buttons and make a lot more money than a sales guy can in the month, right? I mean, that's the kind of power we control as pricers. And, I have had great experiences with all of the major consulting firms out there. But one thing that kind of became very evident in my last engagement was that not much has changed, and especially from a competitive intelligence standpoint, web scraping. They'll all tell you that you need 3 web scrapers, and none of them are very good. And I challenge them. I'm like, well, why not just go find a good one, right? I mean, I don't need to spend that kind of money on 3 web scrapers. So, I had been working as a client with WebDataGuru for the last 4 years. They were just double digits better when it came to accuracy, and that is simply was my determining factor in choosing them as my sole provider. And then they came to me a few months into the engagement and were like, we would like to beta test a new platform for you. And so this the PriceIntelGuru is what we came up with, and that's our tool. And we just go about web scraping completely differently than what everyone is used to. And I think getting that word out, I think once people see our product, they kind of realize we've didn't go from A to B or A to C. We went all the way to Y, and all you've got to do is kind of put your last spin on it. But from a pricing perspective, it is. I've been in the B2B world for most of my career, and it's challenging. Pricing is always challenging. You got tons of moving parts and everything else, but at the end of the day, the first question you kind of have to ask yourself, there's lots of questions, I know that, but when it comes to implementing a price, am I going to price internally or am I going to price externally? You have to make that decision. Am I going to look at the marketplace or am I going to use cost plus, more or less cost plus, right? I mean, we can call it funny, fancy words and everything else, but that's what we're doing. And in today's world, internet, everything else, price transparency is very common. And I see a lot of manufacturers getting into the price, putting out their prices online, right? Manufacturers realize that I can make a lot of money by just throwing up a really cheap website and selling directly to the public. And that's what they're doing. So not only you challenged with your traditional competitors, your suppliers are now also putting their product out there for sale. And so it's a lot, you've gone from a few half dozen brick and mortar competitors to dozens, if not hundreds, of online and supplier competitors. And how do you price in that space? Well, from my perspective anyway, first thing is I got to know where everybody's at, right? Where are they, and how do I line up to them? And then we can make decisions after that. So with WebDataGuru, I didn't have, at Napa, I had a pretty large pricing team, but at Fleet Pride, not so much. And so we really had to kind of make do with less resources, but do the same amount of work. So WebDataGuru, I worked with them. Like I did a lot of their UI design on the price intel, and really made it for me as a pricer to use, but we can make it suitable for any company, industry, any individual pricer, as to what's most important to them. The two things that probably separate us more than, well, I'd say three things that separate us more than anything else is we don't get blocked. We do not use code to go out and get web scraping. We have 150 million IP addresses in 5 countries. There's not a defense system out there that can track all those IP addresses and coordinate them back to us. So we don't get blocked. We can pull millions of records a night, and we do it for several of our customers. We do have one customer that requires 1.2 million records every single day.
Wow.
Then comes the question, how in the world do you process 1.2 million records? Well, they don't. We do. They tell us how to manage it, how they perceive the market, how they weight different competitors. We go out, we grab that information, we do all the analytics, and produce one, what we call competitive index per SKU or search, so that you're not trying to squeeze all these things together and figure out, what's right. We're doing that for you. We're just coming back and saying, here's a representative price to the field. We store all data forever for free. I have, we won't get down this rabbit hole, but
that's a lot of data.
That's an insane amount of data. But I was talking to a client earlier this morning. I was like, I really should be put on some news network, because I've been tracking grocery prices for the last 4 months, and I can tell you what every single grocery price is in the country for the last 4 months and how they've transacted. So if you really want to know what it is, I can tell you what the price of eggs is today.
Have you been banned from The Price is Right?
Yeah, right. I love that show. I think we should do a poll. How many people grew up watching The Price is Right that ended up being
I'll put it up. I'll put it
up. So we store all the data, which allows us to do industry trends, market trends. We track by category, competitor, you name it. We download it and keep it. And then lastly, we use AI verification. So we use 5 levels of AI to validate every single scrape, every single time, every single night. So we'll look at the image, the price, the descriptions, the attributes, dimensions, and we'll score each one of those and then provide our confidence rating to our client. We'll provide. Sorry, I was looking at your.
Hey, we can do it. We can do it. Sorry,
we can do it.
Cut up your train of thought.
But we use AI to match all of those, and then it's based on machine learning. So the first couple cycles, we have somebody from the customer saying, yeah, these are good, these are bad, and our machine will learn all of that so that you're not looking at those million results. You're just looking at the ones that come back and say, hey, we're not really comfortable with this result. You should look at it. And then they have an opportunity to verify it from there. And so we have taken that company, which is really weird, and I don't understand it, but the company that does 1.2 million scrapes a day was taking 12 days to process them. So I'm not sure what good every day was, but we took 12 days and made it 12 hours. And now it's actually very relevant. I should say one else, for any of those that are in a very volatile pricing world, we are also the only ones that offer live web scraping. So anything that you have set up in our system, you can check the price instantly and within 30 seconds get back tens of thousands of results, and they will be live on the website at that price. So we'll check it right then and there, which comes very handy to the grocery stores. That was a very powerful tool there for them. But price intelligence, competitive price intelligence is wildly important. Again, it goes back to how am I going to price my product anyway? And then once by kind of closing that gap and doing all the analytics for the client, they take, as a practitioner, I would take that competitive index and I drop it into Vendavo, and I would apply my company value proposition. I would apply whatever the C-suite wanted to do with that product, all those things, and it would drill down and through multiple decision trees come up with a price. It's really I've heard lots of conversations and about lack of resources or just not giving pricing the
respect.
Respect. That's a good word. That is a good word. Respect that they need, and doing this just really speeds up the process and allows them to be very agile. And we as a company are very agile. We know that competitors change, markets change. We do not charge to add competitors or SKUs, right? We're in a service, right? We want to you need competitive data. We want to provide that for you. And you tell us kind of where we need to hunt. And if it changes, it changes. And we don't really, that's not a concern of ours. So I saw Dick, which is an excellent question. I get it all the time. B2B. B2B, sort of. If it's behind a password and it's illegal to get, can't get it, is protected by law. Anybody that tells you can get it is breaking the law. Okay, so you can't get it. Now, interestingly enough, within that law, there is a little cutout for loyalty programs. If you're a loyalty program and you're using a phone numbers are not protected by that law. And so we use that for like Lowe's or something, right? Where you get $5 back, or you get special pricing when you log in. We can capture that. It takes a little longer. Can't do that in a night, but it takes more like 4 or 5 days. But we are getting published pricing, and there are lots of defense systems out there trying to protect even the public stuff. But If it's behind a password, it is illegal to web scrape. Can't do it. Believe me, I've tried. tried to thread that needle, but the only way to thread it is via phone numbers, loyalty programs. You can't get to the information that way.
Question for you, and this is just my own my own brain.
Sure.
All right, is there kind of a future where we're using AI and we're using bots to go ask the salespeople to get like the B2B prices down the road? Is that like even at the am I behind on that one? Is that one still kind of on the horizon, or somewhere we're going to get where, there's, kind of that availability, or using AI to call and ask for a price? Or, I mean, where are we
It
in
would
that
be.
kind of, from a
I will
B2B
tell you, I
perspective?
came from the automotive, technician space. They knew if you didn't know what you were talking about right out of the gates, they would call you out and hang up, right? Like, I mean, they kind of would quiz you because we did a lot of call campaigns, like tens of thousands of calls, and we got rejected more than 50% of the time. They could pick out a call center and be like, yeah, do you know what this, or some very popular part fits? And when you didn't, that's the end of the conversation. They hang up on you. Like, they know, they're pretty savvy about that these days. I will say what I did was I had Vendavo ingesting quotes from the field, so that I had those quotes bring in, and those were always the last check before the price got published. Was, okay, this is what the system says. Now, does that really correlate to what the field is seeing? And do we know why, right? And so, unfortunately, that's still very archaic, right? They could take pictures of invoices and send them in, and we had a way of consolidating them and ingesting them. But yeah, I mean, it's very hard, like very secretive world.
Yep. Well, let's mix in some questions. I'll toss
Sure,
them out to you.
I was trying to look at some of them.
Yeah. How do you accurately match on SKUs given all the different product variations and descriptions within retail?
Fantastic. So we go about different. Well, again, we talked about 5 different AIs that we look at: image, descriptions, dimensions, price, attributes. Case in point, Amazon. If you try to download an image from Amazon, it will be squeezed or stretched. Every single image, every single time. That's one of their defense mechanisms. So the fact that we don't rely solely on like one particular column or another, we've actually just turned off imaging on Amazon because it was throwing off our confidence ratings. And what we did was we emphasized dimensions. Amazon can't change dimensions. So we emphasize that to our machine learning in the instance of Amazon. Like, that is the priority, and base your decisions on that, not any of this other stuff, especially not the image, right? So we are very flexible. So like, if we were doing one for a battery company and group code is kind of a defining factor, and so is cold cranking amps, and so like we put those as priorities over everything else, so we can rank based on whatever the client's needs are. How do they see like themselves matching up, and then we use that as our playbook pretty much. So we can vary it in multiple different ways, and then if it is published, if it's a spec, if it's anything out there, we'll grab it and can do an analysis on all of it to come up with a confidence rating.
So we're using that machine learning. Someone asked about AI cross-checking. So you're kind of using that machine learning AI to kind of verify everything on the back
Right.
end
So
before.
AI is verifying the scrape. Then the client comes in, and like I said, the first few go rounds, like we're trying to learn like what's important to you, right? What are you looking at? And then so as the client's saying, yes, that's a good SKU, or no, that's a bad SKU, and we're showing all the details, right? And as you say yes or no, it's looking at all the other SKUs in that group that are like that SKU. And if you said yes to that, it'll go ahead and apply that to the other SKUs and vice versa. If you're looking for a particular SKU and we find one, and then we find like a SKU right next to it that looks identical to what you're looking for, we'll pull that too. And then we'll ask you, you didn't ask for this, but we found it. Do you like it or not? And then the machine will just learn off of that every single time. So it's learning off of your verification of the AI. If you like it, if you trust the AI, the system will understand that and continue to build off of that. Airline biz, I love the airline biz. Has an entire industry of web scrapers to find unpublished. Currently, yes, the airline biz. Well, we'll stay away from the airline biz because they are actually not really scraping unpublished pricing, rather sharing it with one another. We'll just kind of keep that up. We'll skip over that one because I actually hired several American Airlines employees, so I
some behind the scenes stuff not to share.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. But how do you establish which competitive SKUs are equivalent? Many competitors do not publish their prices. So, certainly the B2B space, it's a lot of internal contracts and what have you. No one's ever going to be able to see that because it's written down on a piece of paper somewhere. But what a lot of manufacturers do is they will scrape their actual resellers to find out what they're selling it for and then work backwards from there. They know what their customers are making on that product because they sold it to them, and then they can kind of backtrack into a B2B price and a B2B competitor price. Not great, but unfortunately, I mean, I would have paid hundreds of millions of dollars for wholesale pricing at Napa. I mean, I would have given anything for that. Net price discounts. Yes, we capture rebates, discounts, in stock, out of stock. We capture all of that. We actually continue to. That's part of our history. So we know where our competitors are stocking products and when they're stocking products. So we're capturing all of that. Let's see, our competitors. Are your customers setting up are your customers setting up their own scrapes, or are they just identifying who the competitors are, and are you guys doing the rest? That is the latter. We really do all the heavy lifting. You kind of tell us, you give us competitors, any competitors you want to go look at, and your SKUs or product you're looking for, and we do the rest. We'll go out, we'll go find it, we'll come back, and then the only responsibility from a pricer's perspective is to manage the verification process. Like I'm not, I'm an expert in auto parts, but I'm not an expert in medical devices, right? So but whoever is sitting in that chair just tells the system yes or yay or nay, and it will learn from there. And again, we'll start looking as it learns. It'll start looking for things you didn't even know were out there, and we'll bring it back and ask you if you want it or not. I mean, and if you do, it just rolls into our everyday scraping. No contract negotiation, none of that. It just rolls over. And if there's SKUs that you don't like that we pulled, you'll never see them again, right? We don't pull the same trash data over and over again. If you don't like it, pull it out.
One question, and I think I know the answer, but I don't know for you. Do you do price optimization as part of the service?
That is a great question. TBD. Because I actually have a lot of experience in building that out with Vendavo. I spent years trying to fix their to kind of streamline their system. I think that is on the roadmap. But right now, a former boss of mine, he was like, look, if I do one thing great and you do 100 things really well, I'll beat you every time. And so we're kind of taking that philosophy. If I can be the best web scraper out there, we're fine living in that lane for right now. But if you look at our program, we actually have a tab already set aside to add pricing rules and what have you. And we could deliver a price. We could have both web scraping and kind of, it would never be as robust as, PriceFX or Vendavo, but most companies don't need that. And I think Adrian talked a lot about that, right? Like, they don't need this crazy $1 million pricing software. You need some governing rules and some good practices, but that's not $1 million. That's, just an add-on for us, I would say, right? So,
yeah.
Craig,
Well, I think that's with AI where pricing professionals are going to be going, right? Is like,
right.
They need something like what you have that they can add AI, add stuff like to it, right? And complement it, but don't need necessarily like this big, robust thing. They need stuff that they can add to. And you guys provide that core service of that web scraping that they can't do themselves,
Right.
that they need your expertise, and you guys could add other stuff on, but then they can, you're giving them that platform and that data to kind of to build off of, which is kind of the cornerstone of it all that can't be done. And we can't create 150 different or 100 whatever 150 million
yeah,
150 million IP addresses. You're not going to be able to do that yourself.
Right.
But it's so anyway. Sorry for
There's
me to jump in on that one, but
good question from Chris Drill here. How granularly can you pull the data? Yeah, city, zip code. We pull by zip code for multiple clients, and we'll roll it up. So we have it as standalone zip code, so you can look at zip code by zip code, and then we roll it all up to how do you just nationwide, how do you line up? So that was a great question. When benchmarking across, the real challenge isn't gathering competitive data, it's weighting context, contrast size, channels, service bundles, rebates. How does your methodology turn out complex deals based on the real challenge isn't just getting competitive, it's weighting context, contract size, channel. Well, I mean, that's not online, right? As would be my answer. If those types of things aren't out there, then I myself or any other web scraper wouldn't be able to get it. Like, if it's, again, written on a sheet of paper, that's just we do grab shipping charges to answer Peter's question, and so just going through but and the one question I get a lot too is, well, can I just ask ChatGPT like to price shop for me? That's a terrible idea, by the way, because ChatGPT is going to go out there and grab a bunch of information that's unverified, and that we grab a lot of bad information, right? But we sift it out before we send it off, and so it goes back to the product matching details. Are you competitive web scraping starts and ends with how good was the web scrape? How is it the right product? If I got the wrong product, then the rest of it doesn't matter. And so it's coming down to that matching and getting the right product. And then once I have the right product and I'm storing the information, our clients can do whatever they want with it. You want us to build you a spreadsheet? You want us to weight your competitors? You want us to do all that? The hard part is getting the information and storing it. And we do that very well. And then from there, we can make it look any way you want. We can present it any way you want. So we're at 2. Let's see here. When benchmarking. Let's see here. Agreed. You can build it out in Power BI. AI created CPQ price list manager. Well, see, there's another, AI CPQ. we have not. I've used ChatGPT and cross-referenced it with us, and it does. You're going to have to sift through a lot of stuff. It may have the right price in there, but it's going to give you 100 ones that are wrong. And so it'll be in there, but it will probably, you'll have to figure out which one's the right one. And that's the problem. It'll just send you everything. And again, it leaves it up to the pricing department to figure it out. We'll fit in on our end, we'll figure it out, right? Like, just tell us how you want it. And the last thing I'll say with that is, I am, we'll say, value priced. Okay. Don't think that we did jump a lot of hurdles and crossed off a lot of headaches in the web scraping world, but we're actually cheaper than your current supplier is. And that's just because we're in India. It's plain and simple. I'm in India, and that's why I can store the data for free, and that's why I can pretty much be extremely competitively priced.
Well, I mean, you don't need the, with all those IP addresses. I mean, you know, that's such a value proposition, being able to do it less expensive, because you don't need somebody sitting in that location if you're, they're publicly available websites. So
Correct.
That's a huge value proposition.
And the last question is, yes, I can grab prices if they reconfigure the IP region or zone. AutoZone is notorious for doing that, and has really tripped up a lot of our competitors, but we were able to follow them. And again, it's just, we do go about it with IP addresses versus script. So it's very hard. It's easiest for us to maneuver from one to another. We don't have to rewrite anything. We just point it to a different target.
Gotcha. So instead of, that makes sense. Sorry, I was just trying to think.
Yeah.
Think through the logistics of that one.
A lot of it's like you talk to some other web scrapers, and I'm not trying to dish them at all. It's my experience, right? It's very one directional. Here are my SKUs, here are my competitors. If I want to change that direction, change those SKUs, change whatever I'm looking at, required an entire rewrite, required weeks of testing and all this stuff, and then it was questionable if it worked anyway. Whereas, like, if you want to change sites, take us about an hour, right? I mean, and we wouldn't. It's just, again, pointing them differently. We're going about it differently as far as we're service. You just kind of tell us roughly how many competitors and how many SKUs you want a month, and we just go from there. Do you adjust for volume metrics? If it's available, yes. So there are volume buy. If they say, hey, buy one at $2, buy 10 for $8, yes, we would capture all of that.
Sorry.
Anything else? So great questions, though. I really, I hope you guys have watched my video. I know I have a face and voice for newspaper, but I tried my best and tried to highlight just what all the machine does, all of our, and just walking through use case scenarios. And certainly I'm available at the expo booth the rest of the afternoon, answer any questions, walk through some demos for anybody that's interested. And, just really, I love talking pricing and so I really enjoyed this week. I kicking myself. I really did not miss the networking thing, but Chris, I love the networking thing yesterday. I think if we could like quarterly just open that up, right, and say, for these 2 hours,
I'm paying for the full year, so we can do that anytime.
I love just meeting new people, right? I thought it was really cool. I don't know about how everybody else.
No, I should put that down. Yeah, we should just have kind of open networking. Just a hey, come for this 2 hour window,
Mhm.
or have a quick lunch and learn, and then
Yeah.
some networking time.
I
So
don't know.
I'll
I thought it was
definitely.
great because I got connected with so many different people and got to hear so many different stories and journeys and everything. I thought it was I really liked it. And then of course I missed it today because I can't tell time zones very well. But yeah, see, look, I got a couple Aon and Lisa at least. Oh, happy hour. That's even better.
I was thinking about that one too. I was like, we should have just concluded with one of these days with
Cocktails.
grabbing grabbing some drinks. It'd be good if I could pull people on stage. I need to figure out how I do that. I need to go back to Ring Central, because that'd be a fun one where it's people can come up. And I was trying to do a lightning talk, but I can't get people on stage, so I couldn't pull that off. Well,
Well,
let's see. Any questions for Brian? Like he said, he's at he's at the expo booth. It's just on the left hand side of the screen for everybody. You can go in there. You can actually go camera to camera with Brian. You can jump in, have a talk. He can walk you through demos, show you the product. There's more flexibility for him, and as well as Adrian and her booth. I'll try to be at mine. I probably need to have some lunch first at some point.
eating's
I got my
overrated.
breakfast. I mean, we
Uh,
don't have that much longer in the day, but I got my breakfast during one of the talks where I didn't have to be on camera. But yeah. So, any last questions for Brian? I would ask you about the importance, but I think everybody in pricing knows the importance. And I think, with what, like we talked about, with what you're doing, it's one of those things that AI is not going to be able to replace you. If you're looking and you have any sort of need for competitive intel, like getting the right stuff. And I think that's what's powerful is, you've evaluated them all, you've used a bunch of them, and now you found the one that you like
I've
the
probably used
best,
a
and now
dozen
have
web
turned that
scrapers
into a
over my
new opportunity.
career.
I
and
can I can imagine.
and these guys built a better mousetrap, and I was like, I want to go work for you guys, like, and away I went because I thought everybody could use this. I do have a lot of UI development into this, and I'll leave you with this, Chris. Remember me next year because I will not be the only one of two sponsors. I imagine you will have your plate full of sponsors because this has gone so well, and you have so many people here. I mean, I won't be the only sponsor, so better remember me next year.
Well, I mean, as we talked about it, I was shocked by the lack of interest from a lot of people, but I also didn't want, as we talked about, I wanted people that really believed in this and wanted to be part of this. And I think you, as a pricing professional, Adrian, as a pricing professional, saw what this is and how it's going to help the community. And so your companies were wanting to be a part of this, wanting to celebrate the pricing profession. A lot of the other people was like, I'm a VP of marketing or chief marketing officer. Like, what's the ROI? I'm like, what's the ROI? How does it look if you're not here and you're not celebrating and you're not being involved? And so I just really appreciate you for doing the session. And I know it was kind of a little more last minute, but you coming in and helping with this, because it was a clear weakness with the event. And then but just the belief in the sponsorship, because I mean, I thought it would go this well. So other people are like, it's gone better than I thought. I'm like, I think it was, I thought it was going to go this way, but I guess you always just, when you're doing it, you hope it's going to go this way. So
Hey, it only gets bigger
thank
from
you.
here. It only gets bigger from here. So this was fantastic, Chris. Well done. Very well done.
I probably should have started smaller then. Just next year we'll have to figure out how to get more people, how to break out the sessions and do some more fun stuff. So if there's any more, did I miss any questions at the
No, I
end?
think we're good. I
Uh,
thank you again, Chris. for me and
perfect.
for everybody attending. This has been fantastic.
Okay, so go see, Brian at his booth if you've got more follow-up questions. You want to see actually how it works, and let him show you around. I know Adrian's doing she's got some stuff around CPQ and some apps and stuff that she's got. So go check them both out. You've got like another hour and a half, or I probably should know when the next event starts. It starts at 4:15 Eastern, 1:15. So you've got an hour to go talk with both of them, see what they're up to, and then meet back here in a little over an hour. So I'll give the rest of, I'll let you guys go jump to the booth, start talking with folks, and thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone. We'll talk soon.